Good morning. So I didn't do the video yesterday like I originally anticipated about the Disney Fantasy. Some things came up. So one of our springs in our garage door is broken. So there's a home warranty, but I don't know exactly how much of it they're going to cover. So that's one of my phone calls for later. We also got a new ice maker yesterday that was $90, like a $90, almost like a copay, because that was covered under the home warranty except for the visit out here. So that happened. And then Joe broke his glasses. He dropped them. So he got them a year ago on February 10th. So those were under warranty for another week. So I called our old iPlace and I get to go to the post office later today to mail those. And it was only $15, so that's good. So yeah, lots of things. Sorry, I have like this random like pebbles thing sticking up, whatever. You know, because I put so much consideration into my appearance with no makeup ever. Anyway, so all of that being said, we're here today. So I would like to talk to you about the Disney Fantasy. So Joe and I went on the Disney Fantasy last April. This was a 7-night Western Caribbean cruise. So we flew in, always fly in the day before a cruise, especially with how airlines can cancel flights, delay flights. So we flew in the day before. This was my first time staying on Disney property without actually going to the parks. I stayed on Disney property because I found out that if you stay on Disney property and use Disney Cruise Line transportation, you can actually get on the ships like they have boarding groups. You can actually get on the ship quicker. So I was like, all right, fine, whatever. It's almost the same price as some of the hotels anyway. So we did that. So we got to the port. I think we still had to do COVID testing for this one. Yeah, we had to do COVID testing. So this cruise it had a day at sea, and then it went to Cozumel, and then it went to Grand Cayman, Jamaica, Disney's Castaway Cay, a day at sea, and then back to Port Canaveral. If you do the Western Caribbean itinerary, you bounce back and forth between time zones. So it was kind of funny because Joe and I started Central Time because we were in Chicago at the time. Then we went to Florida. We were Eastern Time. We were in Eastern Time until we got to Cozumel, and then we were back in Central Time. And then I don't remember when we went back to Eastern Time. And then once we got back to the port and then flew back, then we were back on Central Time. So it was just like, you never really knew what time zone you were in. I heard that this also happens on Alaska itineraries. So, I mean, as long as you end up where you're supposed to be, when you're supposed to be there, that's really all that matters. So, I loved the excursions that we did on this one. I didn't love the Cozumel. We went to the ruins. I mean, it was okay to see them. It wasn't my favorite. I thought Joe was going to like it more than he did, and he actually did not. So, but we also had some really good other excursions. We went in Grand Cayman. We went swimming with stingrays and dolphins. That was super fun. The stingrays were Joe's highlight of the trip. And then in Jamaica, we went ziplining. That was amazing. That was also my birthday. So that was, added fun is that it was my birthday. And then, we went parasailing in Castaway, and that was incredible. If you've never been parasailing, highly recommend it. Even if you're afraid, he's not huge on heights, but he loved it. He's like, that's the most peaceful thing that he's ever done in his life. So the Fantasy is the sister ship to the Dream. The Fantasy, when we went on the Fantasy, there were Eastern and Western Caribbean itineraries. They were only doing 7-day. I believe that's what they're still doing for the Fantasy. for now. But this was my favorite ship of Disney Cruise Line. I think even after I went on the Wish, I still liked the Fantasy more. The adult only area is called Europa. There are different bars based on different places in Europe. So the champagne bar is called Ooh La La. I made friends with Bernadette. She was the piano player on board. I literally followed her schedule on the app because I know it was slightly stalkerish, but she appreciated me coming to literally every single one of her performances. Also Jordan, I don't remember Jordan's last name. He was an incredible violinist. So I pretty much just followed Jordan and Bernadette everywhere. So they were in Ooh La La a lot. And then they were in La Piazza, which was like the main, it was carousel themed, and it was in the middle of Europa. But there were a lot of places to sit there, and they had a stage there. So Bernadette and Jordan were playing there frequently. I did not really go into the pub much because Jordan and Bernadette weren't there. They did a lot of trivia in the pub. So Joe and I went a few times. And then there was another area. Oh, yeah. The Tube, modeled off of London's subway system. So that's where they had like the dance parties and everything. But the decorations in all of these were amazing. Ooh La La was very plush. The chairs were incredibly comfortable. It was just amazing. Joe and I were down there all the time. It was awesome. Just awesome. The Fantasy also has the Aqueduct, which is the same as the Dream. It's like a water coaster kind of thing. It's not technically the same kind of coaster as the Aqua Mouse that's on the Wish, but it is still a lot of fun. So it's a 2-person inner tube, and it goes around the side of goes around the top of the ship or off the side of the ship. Very cool. We also went to the spa, so they were doing week-long passes to the spa on this one. It was worth it for us because we went and laid in those stone massagers, or the stone, not massagers, the stone lounge chairs. Pretty much every day we were there at some point, and then you didn't have to compete with people for the hot tubs. So that was amazing. Let's see. The food was very similar to the Dream. They had Enchanted Garden and Animator's Palette, just like the Dream did. And then they also had the Royal Palace, Royal Court, whichever one is not on the Fantasy. They're so similar. I can't keep them. They're literally the same thing. There was one difference. So since it was a 7-night itinerary, I wish I knew what I did with it. We went to all the restaurants twice. So when we went to Animator's Palette for the second time, there was, you got to draw a character, and while you were eating, you drew it like right when you sat down, and then while you were on this placemat thing, and then while you were eating, they actually animated all of them and created this whole show of everybody's drawings animated. It was so cool. So if you have kids, Joe created some kind of skeleton with a mohawk. Mine, I have 0 drawing talent, so mine looked kind of sad. But it was so much fun. Super kid-friendly, super adult-friendly. Absolutely loved it. The kids clubs were very similar to the Dream. They were amazing when we went in for the open houses. The staff, amazing. Bingo was, I think they might have had bingo 4 or 5 times. We went to bingo every time. I just loved having a 7-night cruise because I wasn't rushed to go discover all of the ship. I was able to take my time and actually experience everything. So highly, highly, highly recommend the Fantasy. So Joe, I don't think he got terribly seasick on this one. So this was the end of April that we went. So the waters were not as crazy as they were in January. We still had Dramamine for him, and then he did not have a oh no, he did. He had a scopolamine patch for this one. So that was huge for him. He was actually able to enjoy this one a lot more. I think that's all I have to say about the Fantasy. If you have questions, let me know. I think that's all I've got. So have an awesome weekend. If you have exciting plans, go do your thing. There are a few things that Joe and I might actually be doing this weekend. We might actually go be social in Tucson. Crazy, I know. But now that the house is together, I feel like we can actually do that. I did go for a run yesterday, and I also joined Weight Watchers. So I'm going to my first meeting tomorrow. Wish me luck. Wish Joe luck, because he is now going to be eating whatever I make that's Weight Watcher friendly. And he calls it rabbit food, so this is going to be a lot of fun. Also, shout out to Alyssa, our realtor. It is her birthday today. She probably will not watch this, but that's okay. She was amazing dealing with my meltdowns, my total emotional and mental instability when we were going through selling our other house and buying this house, but end result, amazing. I think she's in Mexico right now. But Alyssa, huge shout out to you. Thank you for dealing with me and Joe and making our dream house happen. All right, that is officially all. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye.